wisdom,
prudentia,
justice,
justitia,
temperance,
temperantia,
courage.
fortitudo.
Applying ancient philosophy to modern life. This is the Sunday Stoic.
Welcome to the Sunday Stoic Podcast. This is Steve, coming to you from Conway, Arkansas. In fact, however, when this episode releases, I shall be in Ludington, Michigan, enjoying time with my family. Fate permitting, of course. This is a podcast applying the ancient philosophy of Stoicism to our modern lives. Why? Because the Stoics spent a lot of time thinking about human nature and what it takes to be a good person and to live a good life. And those two things are synonymous in Stoicism. To live a good life is to be a good person. To be happy is to be a good person. This week we'll depart from some of our normal discussions. A lot of times we talk about that the ideas that wealth is not a good, that death is not to be feared. We talk about being temperate and courageous. This week we're going to look back at an ancient Stoic idea, one that some would still believe today, and one that others would argue is not all that useful to be ethical today. But it's the idea of our relationship with the divine. And as I've said before, I think Stoicism is powerful in that you can come at it from both directions. You can be someone who, well, first of all, you can be a modern established faith like, Christian or Jewish or Hindu or whatever, and still practice Stoicism. You can also be atheist and practice Stoicism, or you could be something more like the Stoics themselves, which, once again, I'm just a guy with a microphone, not a world expert on all these things. But, we know about the Romans, how they had all those different gods and goddesses. So kind of a polytheist group. But the Stoics were more pantheist. You hear them referring to a singular god a lot, this god called Zeus, or just God. They refer to him as just God. And sometimes they talk about other gods and goddesses, but more like their little offshoots of Zeus, not separate beings from Zeus. So there's like one true God, and he permeates all things. It's like God is the soul of nature. And one thing I think that's interesting that really separates the views of Stoicism from perhaps the way I grew up in Christianity, something that definitely is different, and I think that some Christians have criticized about Stoicism, is that the Stoics think that we are not fallen beings. We're not, we do need work. We are not gods, and nor will we ever be. And we can sin and all that kind of stuff. Is kind of similar idea, but we have one piece of us that is the equivalent of a god. That doesn't mean we, or let me rephrase that. We have something that can be made equivalent to that of the gods. So the gods gave us this thing called reason. And our job, it's like giving us a rock, a big chunk of unshaped rock. And our job is to chisel it to make it the best sculpture we can. We're to make our power of reason as sharp as possible. And in that, if we were to become perfectly reasonable, we would be equal to the gods, if only in that one aspect. But to your average Christian, that would be sacrilegious to say, right? Like, oh, how dare you? But for the Stoics, it's a striving to be better. Rather than begging forgiveness and begging for knowledge, the gods gave you the power to seek it out for yourself, and they gave you the power to make yourself better. And so it's your job to do that. So we're going to hear from the three main late Stoics today, and we'll have a little discussion afterwards. The Meditations of Marcus Aurelius, Book 8, Number 17. If a thing is in your own power, why do you do it? But if it is in the power of another, whom do you blame, the atoms or the gods? Both are foolish. You must blame nobody, for if you can, correct.
But if you cannot do this, correct at least the thing itself. But if you cannot even do this, of what use is it to find fault? For nothing should be done without a purpose.
The Discourses of Epictetus, Chapter 3, from the thesis that God is the Father of mankind.
If a man could only subscribe heart and soul as he ought to this doctrine, that we are all primarily begotten of God, and that God is the Father of men as well as of gods, I think that he will entertain no ignoble or mean thought about himself. Yet if Caesar adopts you, no one will be able to endure your conceit. But if you know that you are the son of Zeus, will you not be elated? As it is, however, we are not, but insomuch as these two elements were commingled in our begetting, on one hand the body, which we have in common with the brutes, and on the other, reason and intelligence, which we have in common with the gods. Some of us incline toward the former relationship, which is unblessed by fortitude, and is mortal, and only a few towards that which is divine and blessed.
Moral Letters to Lucilius by Seneca, number 41, on the God within us.
You are doing an excellent thing, one which will be wholesome for you. If, as you write me, you are persisting in your own effort to attain sound understanding, it is foolish to pray for this when you can acquire it from yourself. We do not need to lift our hands towards heaven, or beg the keeper of a temple to let us approach his idol's ear, as if in this way our prayers were more likely to be heard. God is near you. He is with you. He is within you. This is what I mean, Lucilius. A Holy Spirit indwells within us, one who marks our good and bad deeds and is our guardian. As we treat this Spirit, we are treated by it. Indeed, no man can do good without the help of God. Can one rise superior to fortune unless God helps him to rise? When a soul rises superior to other souls, when it is under control, when it passes through every experience as if it were of small account, when it smiles at our fears and at our prayers, it is stirred by a force from heaven. A thing like this cannot stand upright unless it is propped up by the divine. Therefore, a greater part of it abides in that place from whence it came down to earth, just as the rays of the sun do indeed touch the earth, but still abide at the source from which they are sent. Even so, the great and hallowed soul, which has come down in order that we may have a nearer knowledge of the divinity, does indeed associate with us, but still cleaves to its origin. On that source it depends. Thither it turns its gaze and strives to go, and concerns itself with our doings only as a being superior to ourselves. What then is such a soul? One which is resplendent with no external good but its own. For what is more foolish than to praise a man the qualities which come from without? And what is more insane than to marvel at a characteristic which may at the next instant be passed to someone else?
According to Marcus Aurelius, whether the universe is governed by atoms, which is his way of saying nothing but cause and effect, just matter interacting, or the gods. So remember, the Stoics often thought that every moment of your fate was somewhat predetermined and you just had to go along with it and learn to be calm and rational about it. Either way, find no fault in what happens because you have the power to deal with it. You are a Stoic, you are a person of reason. Epictetus says, you are a child of God, so act like it. If you were adopted by Caesar, you'd be gloating the whole time, but you are a child of the universe, essentially, a child of God, and you need to live up to those expectations and entertain no unpleasant thoughts about yourself and start acting like the royalty that you are. He says that we share a body with the brutes, so we are critters just like all the other critters around us. However, in that one aspect, the ability to harness this power of reason, we share that with the divine. Now, Seneca says there's no need to pray for things that you can do for yourself, and that you don't need to go to a temple in order to pray for things, because God is around you and within you. And that so you have this little flame inside of you, this little piece of the divine given to you by the divine, which gives you the power of reason. And the better you are, the more sage-like you become, the more your soul seems to be connected with its origins, and turns in that direction, making you less and less concerned about earthly things like wealth and all of those externals we've talked about in the past. And for that reason, and for others, what sense does it make to praise someone for their external circumstances when the true value in life is that reason they hold within, that they've perfected over their lifetime? Don't value their gold or their wealth. That can be passed on in a moment to someone else, but their character is something that is truly their own and worth praising if it's a well-developed character. I can't recall now if it's Epictetus or whether it was Seneca, but one of the Stoics says, make sure when someone comes into your house that they are impressed by you, not by the things you own. So they shouldn't say, oh my gosh, look at that TV and that amazing couch you have or whatever. They should say, wow, what a great person you are. And that is what they comment on, is how cheerful and charitable and kind you are, and not how rich or flashy you are. So what do you think? Let's go back to Marcus. Gods or atoms? I know there's a sort of a schism in the Stoic movement, at least a little bit, or some folks are trying to make one, where you have to believe in the Stoic way, the ancient Stoic way, the metaphysics of the ancients, or the other side, you can be like an atheist Stoic. Growing up, I was told how bad atheists were, right? But I have since had so many friends. I mean, I studied evolution in college, evolutionary biology. I met a lot of people who were not even raised in a religious background, which I was raised in one. But I soon came to learn that they were some of the nicest people I knew. Of course, there were others that were not, but you get the same array of people in that group as you did in the people I grew up with at church. People that are not good humans and people that are amazing human beings. That rainbow of human existence seems to appear no matter what walk of life you're in. So I don't think you can't be a good Stoic if you're not one or the other. I think it's a big umbrella that could encompass everyone. But I do I find some beauty in the Stoic view that we are creatures of the earth, but we have this one gift from beyond, this gift that allows us to figure things out and to contemplate the meaning of things, and this gift that we can hone and get better and better at, this gift of reason that we can improve through the use of logic and the study of ethics and the study of the world that we live in. So what do you think? I'll put a post up, a poll up on my Facebook page, Gods or Atoms. We'll see if anyone wants to vote in on that. But until then, you can check me out on Patreon, www.patreon.com/SundayStoic to support the show. You can also follow me on Twitter. I also have a Facebook page, The Sunday Stoic on Facebook. So I'm going to go enjoy the cooler weather of Michigan and enjoy time with family. So I hope you have a great week and seize the day. Carpe diem.
Thank you for listening to The Sunday Stoic. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe, rate, and review The Sunday Stoic on iTunes. Become a member of the Sunday Stoic team, earn rewards, and be an integral part of the show by becoming a patron at www.patreon.com/SundayStoic. Contact the show by emailing sundaystoic@gmail.com or by leaving a voicemail at 501-503-3132. To find out more, visit www.sundaystoicpodcast.com.